In creating methods, there may be times when one method may accept a different amount of parameters depending on when and where it is called. For example, here is a simple method used to print out a varying amount of strings, which in this case will be different food names. The way it is currently set up, only 3 different food names can be entered as parameters. They are represented in the formal parameter list of the favefoods method as food1, food2, and food3. In the main method, we can call this method by typing favefoods and supplying it 3 string variables as parameters. I'll go ahead and put pizza, tacos, and ice cream. And when we run the program, we see your favorite foods are pizza, tacos, and ice cream is printed to the console. Now, if we remove one of these parameters, we are presented with a red line under favefoods. And when we hover over, we are presented with an error that basically tells us you defined favefoods to require 3 string variables and you only provided 2. Similarly, if we add more than 3 parameters, we are presented with basically the same error that tells us you defined favefoods to require 3 strings but you provided 4. Basically, unless we provide exactly 3 strings, we will continue to get an error. This presents a bit of an inconvenience. What if someone only has one favorite food, or someone else has 20 favorite foods, but we still want to use the favefoods method to print out all their favorite foods? We could utilize method overloading and write a method that satisfies these instances like such, but this isn't a very elegant solution, as we would have to create a different method for every possibility. Lucky for us, the Java programming language has implemented a way for us to solve this problem. In defining the methods, instead of listing out a specific number of parameters, we can instead use what's called an ellipsis, which is 3 consecutive periods in a row. Before the ellipsis, we need to type the variable type, which in this case is string, and after the ellipsis, we would type the name of the formal parameter, which in this case we'll just use the word foods. This will allow any number of strings to be used as parameters when the method is invoked. Basically, what is happening here is foods is actually an array, and all the values used in the actual parameter list here will be stored in the food array. We can go ahead and modify the body of the favefoods method to work with the foods array. And when we run the program, we can see that all 4 foods are printed to the console. Now let's go ahead and run the program using only one parameter in the actual parameter list. We'll leave pizza and run the program, and as you can see, the program ran successfully with no errors. We'll go ahead and bring back the other 3 foods and then add 3 more foods. Once again, when we run the program, all foods are printed and there are no errors. Using ellipsis in the formal parameter list allows any number of parameters to be used in the actual parameter list here. With that in mind, it's always a good idea to create logic for the instance that the method is invoked with no parameters in the parameter list. For instance, if no parameters are provided when the favefoods method is invoked, we can instead print you do not have a favorite food to the console using an if statement like such. Now, we can define the method to have more parameters like such, but the variable parameter list must always come last. For example, if we add an int variable called num before the string variable parameter list, everything is good. But if we add another int variable called 2 after the string variable length parameter, we will get an error. We can simply move the int variable 2 before the string variable length parameter foods, and the error will go away. Note that only one variable length parameter can be used per method. If we try to add another, like such, notice we are presented with another error. Lastly, the variable length parameter is capable of storing any primitive types or object types, as long as all variables stored in the variable length array are of the same type. So using one string and one int value in the actual parameter list like such is not acceptable and will produce an error.